What it do? Yo, man, listen, it's Dante time. Let's get right into it. None of you got that reference, and that's okay. Hold on, brother, I'm crying. Dante is the fifth Blood Angels character coming to Tacticus. He is a legendary character. If you watch the patch notes video, you will know that he is getting a legendary release event. Before I talk about the stats and abilities of this character, I want to say the art team is literally on fire. They do not miss. They cannot afford to make a bad model. These things look sick. Second thing, I called this perfectly. I said Dante would have flying. I said Dante would have rapid assault. I said he will have terrifying. 4 hits. I was right. Perfect. A little bit of gloating. It's over. Second thing, the helmet. I saw a lot of people asking, it's like, hey, why do we have the helmet? I wish we didn't have the helmet. The helmet is an integral part of the character's identity. His whole gimmick is that people see him as an angel because of Sanguinius' visage, right? There's a whole thing with Necrons, the Silent King, that gets misinterpreted. We don't care about that. And then Gilman's like, oh, you wear my brother's face. And then when Lion meets him, it's like, oh, you dare desecrate my brother's legacy because you wear, like, so the mask makes a lot of sense. I get it. I would love to see his new jet black hair because of the Rubicon, but whatever. I don't want to yap too much. Lastly, I think his pose is a little boring. It's very dynamic on the tabletop model, whereas here he's just kind of standing. And it's a nitpick. The model looks excellent. I shouldn't complain about the pose. Dante, just for a little bit of context, he is the Lord Regent of Imperium Nihilus. Essentially, Abaddon was like, you know what? I don't like this. And he literally ripped the universe in two, the galaxy in two, and Gilliman was like, Lamau, I don't want to deal with this. Dante, why don't you rule it? So this whole black section, Dante is like the guy who's responsible for it. So as far as ranks go, Dante is definitely the highest rank Imperial character we have in the game. Now, let's look at his traits, his stats, and abilities. As for his traits, he has the teleport trait, he has the final vengeance trait, he has flying, he has terrifying, and he has rapid assault. These are very good traits. Rapid assault doing extra damage plus extra movement. I like that. Terrifying just makes him a little bit more tankier, and I'm a fan of that. Final vengeance is nice. Flying is always appreciated. Teleportarium, I don't really care for it, but you know, some people like it, and that's great. It's better for him to have it than not have it. As for his stats, he has 8,600 health and 2,200 armor. Those are very average stats. 1,000 damage is very lackluster. However, it is 4 pierce hits, so that's pretty good. It is similar to Shosil in the sense that he has 1 hit, but it's 5,000 damage. It's still lower, but it's okay. He's more buffable, right? He has 4 hits. His movement is 4, which is good, which is excellent, because remember, he has the rapid assault trait. So before he attacks something, he can move 5, and that is something to love. I love this character. One gripe I do have about his stats is it's not like a tacticus gripe, it's just like annoying to me. He has 4 pierce hits for his power axe. I wish it was power. However, power has less pierce ratio, so it is what it is. Additionally, Dante's Inferno Pistol is a big part of his identity. One of the most iconic moments is him shooting the Hive Tyrant or Swarmlord in the head with his bolt pistol, or the chest, whatever. So that being in the game is great. It's baked into his abilities. So Snowprint was clearly thinking of Ragnar Blackmane when designing this character, because when you design melee characters, you have to ask yourself, hey, is this going to be viable with Ragnar? And he is viable with Ragnar, which is good. I just said Rangar, I'm sorry. Ragnar. Active ability. It's called Light of Sanguinius. It is a melee attack, which is cool. It's very similar to Mataneo's melee ability, and it does combo well with the faction's healer, who sets all allies' life to 50, so I do like that. It does have the Melta stat, which is interesting for the tank, but in my testing, which is 2 runs, okay, I just got home, tested it, and then made this video. It's kind of tricky to control the movement if you're going from side to side. So I'm not sure about it. And I like the fact that there is no cap on this ability. The reason I'm saying this is because Patron Mine is capped. Remember, that can be buffed by stuff. Which, now that I think about it, it doesn't really matter because Eldarion no longer buffs abilities, neither does Ragnar, so maybe a cap isn't needed. Anyways, I'll read the ability. If Dante has not moved, he gains Infiltrate until the end of his turn, then charges an enemy target that has a free adjacent hex within movement range. Range 5 and deals 5x damage. The reason it specifies 5 is because even if you use the Rapid Assault +1 movement and attack, you can use this and this will still move 5, which is a cute little trick. And then it deals 900 to 1200 Melta damage, which is like a significant amount of damage. The target and enemy units surrounding it deal 30% reduced damage for 1 round. This effect is doubled if they attack friendly units that are at or below 50% health. So the reason I said this is similar to Metaneo is because it requires him not moving. He gains Infiltrate, he charges, and he does damage. That's very much it. And the reason I said it combos well with the Faction Healer is because the Faction Healer sets everything at 50% health, so that works for the second part of the ability. I'm a fan of this ability. I don't think it's like too crazy. That the damage reduction is probably like a PvP thing. Infiltrate doesn't really come up that much in raids. So it's good. I'm not going to say it's bad. It's just not as exciting as his passive ability. His passive is called Lord of the Host. I'll actually read it because it's shorter. Other friendly units within 2 hexes with Rapid Assault or Flying deal 900 more damage with melee attacks. Affected units that are at or below 50% also score +1 hit with melee attacks. Now he is a buffer, which is good to see. Rapid Assault and Flying is very cool. I also like the fact that it is 2 hexes, similar to Athena, so this is a really great character. Personally, when I see this, all I can think about is Ragnar Blackmane for Rapid Assault and Bellator plus Athena for Flying. The 50% health giving +1 to hit is kind of neat. It might come up sometimes, in my opinion, based on like Avatar of Cain, maybe, if you're using it there, or what's his name? The Roguelorn Battle Tank, because you do take a lot of damage there, so this might be valuable. Personally, the first thing that pops at me is the tank. Right, Dante has fast movement, he does Melta damage, but does extra against the tank. He buffs Flyers and Ragnar Blackmane. Athena you always want to bring against the tank because tank gives you extra crit, plus Athena gives you extra crit, that way you get to 100, which is pretty cool. Ragnar is also there. Looks like it might be good for the tank, but as I said, I haven't done testing. I played 2 runs against the tank, and I thought to myself it was very easy to move the character, because sometimes with Karn the Betrayer, the tank turns, and you're like, oh, I guess I can't reach it because I have 3 movement, whereas Dante just flies over him, gets to the back, and like, it's over. So it's pretty cool, I like it. I am excited to see what it comes. This is where I will end the video. But no, the secrets need to be unleashed. Okay, I see often that a lot of people don't know the Gazkul trap strategy. This is a strategy that the top guilds use against Gazkul Traka. When people say the multi... There was a little sneeze, forget about that. No, just, you didn't hear anything. It's just the voices in your head. I can't even do the voice, my throat is destroyed. Anyways, top guilds use this comp against Gazkul Traka. This is what they mean when they say the multi-hit theme. People are thinking, oh, they're just using Ragnar. No, they're bringing Bellator into the Gazkul Traka fight. And after Gazkul Traka summons the orcs, where he moves, hits, he summons the orcs, moves, hits the guy, and then orcs takes turns. At that turn, you use Bellator's active ability, and you use the other characters to completely plug any hole the boss has. That way, you break the boss's AI. From that point onward, the boss thinks to himself, oh, I don't know which ability to use, so let me just use a melee attack. And that's how the top guilds are able to do hundreds of thousands upon thousands of damage. And the reason I'm telling you this strategy right now is because Dante is kind of interesting for the strat. Because if you look at the characters, we bring Eldryon, Ragnar Blackmane, Bellator, Athena, and Calgar. Now, the reason we bring all of these characters is because they work well. So oftentimes in Gaskell Traka maps, there is high ground, so you could use your Howl on when Gaskell gets to low ground. Athena is there to buff, what's his name? The character, the Ragnar Blackmane. Additionally, she covers a lot of area with her 2 hex passive. Remember, Gaskell Traka has a 7 attack limit, after which all your damage done is reduced by 90%. So you really have to pick and choose who attacks. In this comp, in this strategy, who attacks is all the Bellator summons attack, Ragnar attacks, and then Bellator attacks, which makes a singular adjacent Inceptor attack. And that is your 7 attacks. The reason you bring Athena is because 1, you want to buff Ragnar on the Howl turn, crits are important, and 2, she buffs most of the Bellator summons. Dante also has a 2 hex buff. I don't want to say this is meta, because I have done no testing with this. However, to me, in a vacuum of looking at how much this thing buffs Bellator summons compared to Athena, this is straight up better. Because Bellator summons, they have the flying trait, so the Lord of the Host would buff them. Additionally, they cannot crit because they're summons. So they don't benefit from that part. So Lord of the Host gives more than a 200% increase compared to the Athena buff. However, this doesn't give you crits. The 20% crit chance on top of the 36% crit chance Ragnar gets, that's a lot. Like you're not gonna be guaranteed to crit, but it's a very high crit chance. So that is something to keep in mind. The reason I'm saying this is because I want to see how the math works out. Is losing the 20% crit and like I don't want to say guaranteed, but more if like okay. Here's what I think. I think if you do not crit on the Ragnar Howl turn because you don't have Anshi, Dante is better than Athena. However, if you do crit, then it's actually kinda close. However, a good chunk of your damage comes from the Bellator summons, so giving them 898 damage instead of 400, it might be viable. Just as a thought. I know he seems good against the tank, but personally, I believe if he is to become meta, he will be meta for Gaskell Traka. In conclusion, I like Dante. He might be meta viable. I am quite excited to see how the Gaskell trap comps adopt him or not, right? Because it all ends up in the total damage. If you don't crit, he's definitely meta. However, if you crit, that muddies the waters. So, just gotta do a lot of testing and see if he's meta or not. That's the video. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good day and stay safe.